For the majority of my viewers, this is not going to be an industrial automation video. This is part 2, talking about the Red Rock Railroad, which is just a little project I'm working on. I will get back to the industrial automation videos very soon. I still have not finished the series on the electrical design and programming for the robot assembly cell that I started several months ago, but I will get back to that. However, right now I have to get this done before it grows cold. We're going to make this as brief as possible. Let's do it. N-scale folded dog bone, Red Rock Railroading, part 2. We'll pick up where we left off. Now, I don't have a complete set of images for every step of this process, and you're going to have to use your imagination. Plus, there are thousands of good videos on YouTube and other locations on the web of how to accomplish everything that we're doing. I'm just giving you a quick review of what we've got done. This is the original layout with a dual reversing loop over to the right. In that way we could come off the upper corner and go through a reversing loop and come back into the layout going the opposite direction. And of course it doesn't do any good to turn around and go the other way unless you can do that in both directions. So that's what the bottom loop is for. And these are stacked, meaning that the upper one, the one at the top of the layout, is a couple inches higher than the one down at the bottom that comes off the bottom corner. Now this already evolved into a little bit more complex reversing loop. So each reversing loop can store 2 trains. That way I can cycle different trains on and off of the layout. And the 3D view shows you that we're using some bridges to avoid covering up any of the track and the reversing loops, so it's easy to work on the track if we have to, or if we have a derailment, to straighten out the situation. Okay, this is the way we left it in the previous video. This was the, I guess if you want to call us standing at the front, this was the upper left corner, and you see that we have the corner of a mountain there with a tunnel, and we have a rock monument started. And then the big piece of plywood there, little 1/4-inch plywood, that was going to be a cityscape or a townscape, and then up above was going to be the mobile home park. That's getting changed. And you can see, I jumped right to where it was at a month or so ago, and at this point I had been working a lot on engineering projects, including off-site, meaning not in my workshop or office, but in Champaign, Illinois, New Brunswick, New Jersey, Bethlehem, Pennsylvania, etc. And I knew I was not going to get this finished if I didn't enlist some help. So I carted this over to Bloomington, Indiana, and got Trevor Jones involved doing the terrain. Everything that you see here that is different than what was in the previous video has all been done by Trevor. Trevor's a real artist when it comes to N-scale landscaping and track. In his basement, he has scale miles. I don't want to exaggerate, but it's at least hundreds of miles, scale miles of N-scale, all British. It's entirely British railroad, all British locomotives, wagons as they call them, not cars, freight and passenger. He's done an incredible job, and this is just the beginning. So you see on this end, closest to you, it still has the monument that I started, but he's already coated it with a material that's easier to sculpt than what I was using. I learned the hard way, you don't want to use straight up plaster. It just does not shape well. And then on the other end, I had a structure started to cover up that end. He just started over, which is good. What he's got is much nicer. And then the motel that you see to the right there towards the inside of the loop by the river, that was built by Bob Case, an excellent modeler. Okay, this is the end that now has, as you can see, those rock formations, and there's a little town in a station there. The switchback that I had done with Woodland Scenic's foam grade materials is now gone, and something else is in its place. You can see much nicer, and that's the station there built by Bob Case. So currently on the layout in the images you see are 2 kits built by Bob Case. The motel, which I don't have a good picture of to show you, the station, and then the station warehouse. So underneath the bridge, you see another mission type building, and that's a warehouse that was part of the kit for the station. And this is a better look at the center. The river is as it was when I was done. The one thing I did not reckon is that if you're going to run a river all the way through the layout from side to side, or you're going to have more bridges, because everything that goes from one end to the other has got to go across the river. So this is my one bridge too many layout. On this end, this whole pinkish structure is removable, so you can access the track underneath or trains if there's an issue. I don't see this getting removed much because the track is in a really good state, and you can reach underneath on this end, at least until we add the dual reversing loops. You can reach underneath on this end if you need to deal with some train components that are on that track that's underneath this mountain structure. And remember, this isn't the current state of this landscape. This is in the beginning phases, and these are a couple little steam heavy equipment pieces that I purchased. I love the steam era. Trevor has cleverly incorporated those two pieces into a little quasi quarry that's going to end up looking really nice. This part of the layout was originally covered up on this corner, and you could not see the transition to the dual reversing loops or going into this portal. The portal was a little bit further onto the layout. This looks much better. It has more drama, more reveal. Again, these are the 5 buildings. The switch tower down below at the bottom, I can't remember the brand of that. That's probably Walthers, or I don't know. It was something I bought used and incorporated. But the 5 primary buildings there, of course, there's the station. That's a Walthers kit built by Bob Case, and then you've got the grain and feed mill, you've got the barrel factory, and then I think it's Mario's restaurant, and I don't know what the name of the other one is. Then you have a post office. That's all Woodland Scenics, right out of the box, pre-built, pre-LED lit. Now, as far as locomotives go, it's not all settled yet, but this was one of the first locomotives I bought long before I started this layout. I've always liked that war bonnet look. This is the Alco PA. They were built between 1946 and 1953. So this locomotive would have been seen in any Red Rock country of the 4 or 5 states that I'm claiming that this is a fantasy landscape from. In other words, there is no place on the face of the earth that looks like that landscape. That's just a fantasy landscape that had to work with the folded dog bone. I wanted some water, and I wanted red rock. So any place that there's red rock or water, I'm claiming that as part of this train layout. This is not my favorite war bonnet locomotive. I do like the F7 better. I like the more aerodynamic look of it, but this is a locomotive that I have to run on that layout. This locomotive, even though it was built between 49 and 53, I don't think this paint scheme came until the 70s. If I do run this locomotive with, a consister with cars on this layout, it'll be a Back to the Future guest appearance, if you like. But remember, the era for this layout is supposed to be late 40s to extremely very early 60s, but primarily 1950s. That's because when I was a kid and my parents took us on vacation out west, I just loved it. And when we went through Red Rock country, and where there were train tracks and trains going by, rivers, bridges. So this is my Back to the Future, I guess you could say, fantasy railroad. If the yellow bonnet runs, it's going to be a guest appearance. And I've also got a blue bonnet. I don't think I have this one converted to DCC yet. But again, it was built between 49 and 53, but this paint scheme I don't think appeared until the 70s. Now this is one of the primary locomotives. I really like steam. So to me, steam is much more dramatic than diesel. And my layout is all about drama, about reveal, things coming from behind things coming out of tunnels, visual drama. So this is not a real fancy looking locomotive. I actually have, I think, 3417. I don't have 3415. At the time I purchased the locomotive, I didn't realize that you could get pictures of the 3415, but not the 3417, at least not good high quality ones. So this is the best shot that I could find of the 3417. As you can see, it was retired in 1954 and donated to the city, a city in Texas, in 55. It was retired in 54, so I'm going to claim that this locomotive would have been seen in Red Rock Country in the early 1950s. Then also the Denver Rio Grande West Railroad did have service that went through Red Rock Country. I don't have any photos of it going through Red Rock Country. Broadway Limited PA up there in the corner with the A and the B unit, I do have that one, and I have a Rio Grande caboose to go with it. This is going to be probably pulling a passenger train. Matter of fact, I have a set of passenger cars that look like the photo there with the 4 black stripes on them. There's only one in that photo. The other 2 are single black stripe. So I'm guessing this might have been a photo of this locomotive and consist going into the Royal Gorge little train ride. I've been on that train ride. It is kind of fun. A little slow. I guess slow is good if you want to take in everything. I needed a diesel freight engine for Rio Grande, and actually the caboose I have is the same paint scheme, black with orange. I haven't verified yet that that locomotive would have been seen pulling that caboose, but I'm not going to worry about it. I'm not going to get my britches in a bunch trying to make this fit hardcore into an era. I'm claiming any Red Rock area within 5 states or so that the Rio Grande, Denver Rio Grande Western Railroad would have been seen passing through, or the Santa Fe. I think I might even stretch this into Southern Pacific and anything else I can come up with that could have passed through Red Rock Country in the late 40s, 50s, and early 60s. I also have this switcher, and it was built between 39 and 49. I'm assuming now, just because a switcher was built, that doesn't mean this paint job is legitimate for the 1950s or early 60s. I don't know. I still have to figure that out. This is one of my Back to the Future locomotives, an EMD GP35. You see that the first production was in 1963, and I don't even know for sure when it appeared on the Santa Fe Railroad system. This is one locomotive when I run it's going to have to be Back to the Future. I love the bonnet paint job. I looked really hard for a GP7, GP9, GP20 with DCC and sound not to be found. And converting N-scale locomotives to DCC is not difficult, but when you start adding sound, you have to place a speaker in there somewhere and get it to sound good, then it becomes more of a challenge. Now, this particular locomotive that I purchased is an Atlas, and it does have DCC and sound. Okay, that's all for now. I do have more, but I'm trying to keep these videos short, and I promise you, if you are one of my YouTube channel Industrial Control System followers, viewers, I am going to do more videos. I just need to get this little project tidied up. I didn't want to create a whole separate YouTube channel for this fooling around with N-scale modeling. So I just threw it on this channel. Please bear with me until we get to back to the primary subject, industrial automation. Thank you for your forbearance.